Well, guys, semiconductor stocks completely crashed this week, and investors are wondering, is this the end of the AI boom? Is this the end of AI infrastructure investment in the United States? I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Nobody's talking about this, which is absolutely shocking to me. But the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index dropped just 1.6% on Friday, but that's over 10% this past week, and it's down 20% since its late June all-time high. So this past week, 10%. Over the past, not even a month, 20% down. That is a crash out, guys. That is a crash out of that index. And I'm reminded by this quote from Warren Buffett, where he says, when men are greedy, I'm fearful. When men are fearful, I'm greedy. Well, it looks like perhaps the greed over these index funds and semiconductor investments, well, it may be starting to wane, and I think there's a bit of fear there. The chip index, guys, though, is up more than 60% for the year, and it seems that at some point, there's got to be a ceiling on this infrastructure investment. Today, we're just going to kind of talk about what are some of the reasons why these chip stocks are starting to crash out. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think that this is a normal correction? Do you think it's a crash out? Like, what do you think is happening? Is now the right time to be investing in microchip stocks? I had someone a couple weeks ago in the comments made a really articulate and very smart point. And basically what he said was, there's so many different companies that are AI first, that are investing in AI, and you're seeing stock valuations. But he said, like, I'm investing in the infrastructure companies. I'm investing in the chip companies. And he's doing really well for himself right now. Although I'd ask him, if you're watching this video, I can't remember your name offhand, but anyway, if you're asking this video, is now the time to sell? Or are you staying in? Let me know. And by the way, guys, again, put your comments below. If you have a great comment, I will pin it. I've pinned your comments in the past. You are the guys that really fuel the channel and fuel this important talking point, which again, I don't see enough regular guys talking about how AI is impacting the world. I just don't see it. We need more guys like you stepping up, speaking up. Anyway, what caused the crash out over the month? Well, we got a quote here from Tony Meadows. He's the head of investment over at BRI Wealth Management, and he says that the pullback reflects profit-taking and risking scrutiny of AI CapEx sustainability. We also have the CEO over at Horizon Investment Services who says, quote, I don't think it has really anything to do about fundamentals as much as it has to do with repositioning of portfolios and just taking profits in stocks that have gone crazy. Basically what these guys are saying is that the hype was so intense, so massive, people made so much money. Now they're saying, well, okay, now they made all the money, let's take some money out and let's shift it around into our portfolio, which makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. You see a huge return on something, at some point you want to crash out. But the reality is there might be more to this story rather than a guy's made a bunch of money, sold, and then reallocated their investments. I think that there might be more to this story. Okay, so a couple other things that happened recently. Chinese company Moonshot released the largest open weight AI model system, Kimi K3, this week. And investors are starting to scrutinize whether the AI investments in US companies will ever pay off, whether the ROI will ever be there. There was this promise that AI is going to replace all labor and you won't need humans anymore and it's going to do all your work for you and it'll do your laundry. We just haven't seen that play out. Like, how many times, how many articles, how many podcasts have we listened to where people are talking about AGI and this artificial general intelligence, and it's going to be so intelligent and so smart, and it just hasn't gotten there yet. Maybe it'll get there, maybe it won't. But in any event, I think investors are starting to question how likely that is. And again, this Chinese model, Kimi K3, is very impressive. There are charts showing that it is the best model to date. So it is just a completely insane war out there for AI intelligence. Additionally, Bloomberg this week reported that Google's Gemini 3.5 Pro is months behind release. Months behind release? Wow. Google is like one of the top companies when it comes to AI development. I think perhaps Gemini might be one of the best models moving forward. And for them to be months behind release is not a good look. The Direxion daily semiconductor bull 3X ETF is also down 50% since late June. It is down 50%. So while this other index is down 20%, the Direxion Daily Semiconductor Bolt 3X ETF is down 50% to late June, although it is up 200% on the year. So you see these funds, these semiconductor funds that just went absolutely parabolic, and now they are starting to pull back. Now, in addition to all this, we're seeing massive pushback on data center construction. People do not want the data centers in their backyards. Maybe we'll record a whole video on data centers, but people don't want them. People are pissed. People are not happy about them. In fact, there are plans just today to hold over 125 data center protests here in the United States. It's 125 organized data center protests. Just a quick side note, since the ending of USAID, we just haven't seen large-scale protests like we've seen in the past. Data centers are bringing people together, boys. Data centers are bringing people together, and the 125 protests in all these different areas is pretty amazing. We've actually seen so much data center pushback. There's been $130 billion in projects that have been canceled in 49 different states in just the past 3 months. People are pushing back. There was another story where a city council voted to approve a data center, and the community came together and voted every single one out of office. So politicians are scared, companies are scared, residents are scared. Nobody wants these data centers in their backyard. Personally, I think that the data centers make sense. We need the infrastructure. We need to be able to improve and compete in the AI world. I just think it's fundamental. It's gonna be fundamental to the way that we live. Do I want a data center in my backyard? No, not really. Put it somewhere remote. Put it somewhere where it can do the job. Do I want my electricity bills to go up? No. Make the companies pay for their own electricity. Make them pay for the infrastructure build out. Guys, these companies are spending insane, like the money that they're spending is barely even fathomable. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Microsoft committed $190 billion in a year to infrastructure, AI infrastructure. So like, you're telling me they can't spend some of that money on electricity and whatnot. The other thought is like, clean water, solve that. Like, if you guys solve the problems of water usage, which I think that the clean water may be a little bit over exaggerated at this point, but no, listen, don't put it past a big company to put profits over people. I'm not an idiot, right? In any event, these data centers are getting pushed back, which means less data centers. More pushback on data centers means less microchips. You don't need $130 billion. That's a lot of microchips, guys. That's a lot of microchips. So I think that there could be some direct correlation there. Now, we've also seen enterprises start to really wonder if these flagship models like Claude or OpenAI's token models are even sustainable, if they even is an ROI, then promised ROI, and they're starting to question whether the ROI is actually there. We covered a couple of weeks ago, I'll post a link to this story here. We covered a story where a company spent $500 million on tokens in 1 month on accident. So, once you start hitting a point where you're like, oh, hey, let's fire a bunch of people, let's bring in a bunch of AI bots, let's talk to the CFO at the end of the month. Well, looks like we spent $500 million on tokens, but we're not sure whether we're more productive or not. Like, that could be a problem. We even saw a Karp, CEO of Palantir, crashing out on CNBC saying, like, these companies are crazy. They're charging so much money. They're capturing all of our intelligence. So there's just a lot of, I think, angst. I think there was a lot of excitement, a lot of greed, a lot of money being poured into AI, and now the companies are starting to peel back. Now investors are starting to pull back and say, well, let's pump the brakes. Let's see what we've actually got here. And listen, at the end of the day, when there's a gold rush, you want to be the one selling shovels. You don't necessarily want to be the one building, and you don't want to be digging for gold. You don't necessarily want to be building your own AI models. You want to be building the infrastructure and selling the shovels, which are needed to actually build out that infrastructure, right? Makes sense. Makes sense. Guys, at the end of the day, it seems that this AI hype might be cooling, or at the very least correcting. Now, is it gone? Is AI all a scam? No, definitely not. AI is for real. I'm using it every day. Very impressed with what it's able to do. But listen, the amount of AI hype has been absolutely absolutely crazy. And there was a comment from, I believe it was Mike yesterday, where he said, well, I'm glad that the companies are saying what they really think. Like, I'm glad that Elon is saying what he really thinks. I'm thinking about actually recording an entire video, or maybe even a short on this, maybe even put it into like a private group or something. We'll see. But, you know, I don't necessarily know that these companies are always being forthright. They, you know, a lot of these guys are saying things based on PR reasons. So anyway, I'll cover that in an entire different video, because the reality is, guys, we've seen hundreds of billions of dollars being poured into AI infrastructure investments, and people are taking a step back and saying, is this okay? Do we want this? The data center piece, I think, is really, really important. Like, once all these data centers start getting shut down, investors are gonna start saying, maybe all these chips are not actually gonna be made. Maybe they're actually gonna have a place to live. So anyway, very, very interesting, very important topic, I think, for anyone who's putting money into the stock market, which if you're not, you should be investing money. You're not gonna build wealth without any sort of investments. But anyway, what do you think, guys? Is it too late to get into semiconductor stocks? Is now the time? Do you think that this is a correction? Where do you think the ROI is gonna show up first? Where do you think you should be parking your cash? Should you buy in Bitcoin? Bitcoin has had a big crash out this year too. Should you, if you've got kids, should you be putting it in Trump accounts? We covered that in a video a couple days ago. I'll post a link to that video here. Where should the money be going? Because the reality is, I want my money to work for me. I don't want it sitting in a cash account, depreciating day after day after day. We gotta be putting money aside, 10% to tithe, 10% to investments, and so on and so forth. Then we pay the bill and so on and so forth, taxes. But what do you think? Where are you putting your cash? I want to know. Put it in the comments below. If you have a great comment, I will pin it. I pinned you in the past. I'll pin you in the future, maybe even today. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. If you liked today's video, check out yesterday's video where we go even deeper on how AI is transforming your life. Go check it out. And that story is crazy too, by the way, where these 4,500 Google employees getting together, signing petitions, going up against Google. Are they right? Are they wrong? You got to watch yesterday's video to find out. There's already been probably 100 comments on there that I haven't gotten to. I'm working on it, boys. It's a crazy time. But thanks for the comments. Thanks for the love. I see you. And I'll catch you in the next video. All right, boys. See ya. Peace.